And we have on the line Mr. Nahjae Ruben Nunes. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. Thank you so much. And good morning to your listeners. How are you?
Not bad, my friend. I'm going to tell my listeners, say, I go on like you're a big man, but he's a youngster.
Yeah.
You know, I'm terrible. Your daddy will tell you that. Now, this is a young man. I think you were in you're one of those who, well, I'll say you nearly get it, but you're blinking good. When you're that good, it is just that we have to select one person because I heard you're in the finalists for the Rhodes Scholarship.
Yes, I was a finalist last year. Yes.
What a thing. Now, and also, I understand that you're heading to Oxford University.
Yes, I am. So humbled. Yes. It's a
You
real
get a,
dream come true.
so you miss one scholarship and you get another one.
Right.
It seems as if person say, listen, man, this man have to be heading to for Oxford. Yes, listeners, you're talking about a young man who obviously is pretty focused. Is into academics. I don't know what he's going to do eventually, but we want to learn something from him. Plus, as a young man who is a fighter and one who has come from very far, and I won't ask him to say much if he wants to, he can. I know a little bit more about him, but I do believe he's here this morning because I do believe that he can inspire many of the youngsters out there, many of the men, as you know, that boy, the man them is a very scarce species this day, very scarce. You can't find none nowadays. So,
hmm
my brother, let's start from scratch. Where you come
Okay.
from?
I am
Where you
from
little picking?
Yes. My mom is from St. Thomas. My father is from Town. So I grew up between both St. Thomas and St. Andrew. So those two I really do call home. And then I went to high school at Monroe College in St. Elizabeth. So I think I have a bit of three homes, so to speak. So I kind of oscillate between those three parishes.
Tell me about the early days growing up as a youngster. And you must understand that as a young man, you're very different from others. Why do you think you're different? What happened? It's just the DNA or what?
But
You could be
you
an
know
idler
what?
out there, you could out there idler and probably a bus go and dig out your handmaid land, so.
Well, you know what I'd say if I am the tree and my parents are the roots, then any achievement, any success, any accolade that I have achieved, I would say is the fruit of their labor. I have been so blessed to have been born into a family that is so supportive with unconditional love and support and encouragement. I have been very privileged to have parents who have sacrificed greatly for my betterment and my overall advancement. And I don't think I would have achieved what I have today without my parents and without my family. So I really do credit it all to them and to their support and just their support. It has really been something that I could not have done it without, and their support has been something that has been carried me through even moments where I never believed in myself.
Tell me about some of those qualities, and I'm hoping that those who are listening, a mother, a father, would probably hearing you and say to ask themselves, am I doing anything similar? Am I doing anything wrong? Am I doing what is right? What would you say that your mother and your father did that helped to propel you that today you can turn around and say, Mom, Dad, thanks?
Yes. Well, the first one I'd say, and I mentioned it over and over again, but was the unconditional love. It was the providing that safe and nurturing environment where I felt loved, valued, supported, regardless of successes and failures. And failures, there were many. You know, we just missed the road scholarship last year, but they say rejection is redirection. We won't go there now. I also think that they had
Yeah.
great
But
patience.
anyhow, let me tell you, if I reach there, I'm not calling failure, do it, I don't care what you want to say.
Man, the territorial will tell you that rejection is redirection, and I completely agree.
Well, not
Um,
take time in a bright rejection is what?
Redirection.
That was making a rejection is redirection. I love that. Yes, continue, my
Redirection.
friend. Mm.
Absolutely. I think something else that they had was patience. Patience and understanding, recognizing that children are constantly learning and growing, and parents ought to remain calm in challenging situations and handle conflicts and difficult behaviors with patience and empathy. I also think that good parents exercise effective communication, meaning that they maintain open and effective communication with their children. And it's not just listening to their children, but listening actively and expressing their thoughts and feelings clearly, and also encouraging their children to express themselves freely. My mom has always said to me from me, I dear Minnie, that always speak your mind, Nahjae, always speak your mind. As long as you're being respectful, then I always want you to speak your mind. And there's so many other things, but I think good parents also show consistency and boundaries. They exercise and establish consistent rules and boundaries and expectations for their children. And they provide structure and discipline in ensuring that the rules are fair and reasonable. And I think that consistency has helped me to develop a sense of security and to understand appropriate behavior and how I, as a young man, should navigate society and how I should be out there representing not only myself, but my family and those who've invested in me. But those are some of the good things I think my parents have done to help propel me to where I am today.
All of that though sounds as if they have their master's and doctorate in proper parenting. And I'm sure they don't. So probably it's learned from somewhere. But it is lacking nowadays in the society. What would you suggest could be done to inculcate the right attitude, to get persons to have the right parental skills? Is there anything the society, is there anything that government can do? Because it's very clear. I haven't done any scientific studies, but based on my discussions with persons, including yourself, it is very clear that the root of the problem in Jamaica is a lack of proper parental care.
I agree. Governments really can play a crucial role in supporting good parenting, and they can implement myriad policies and resources that help to assist parents in their parenting journey. And I mean, I'm no parent myself, so to all the listeners, let me qualify myself and saying that I'm not an expert on the subject.
but guess what? I am telling you, I consider you an expert because if you are the product of such good parents, then what more you want? Because let me tell you something about life. And while you'll be going to Oxford to study all over degrees, I always tell my listeners this joke about this very brilliant gentleman who went to Oxford and studied electrical engineering. If that's if they studied at Oxford. The bulb in the living room, my father's living room couldn't work. And the father asked him to look after the man, consult all his books and do all his research. Couldn't get the bulb working at all. Poor father was so frustrated. I would put money spent on him to go to Oxford. And then, one day, Mas James passed. And Mas John said, Mas James, oi! He said, yes, Mas John. He said, Mas be there, the bulb in the living room now working a boy a long time. Me son a big, educated, qualified boy, I try fix it, but Lord have mercy, so I work at all. Me no wonder why I work with it. I mean, no man for go pay no electrician to fix it. Yeah, Mas James. I want if I blow, the bulb blow. Apparently, he didn't learn that in the textbooks. So, let me tell you something. Not everything, you don't depend on the textbook alone. So, your parents seem to have learned, probably just passed on by their parents. We probably need to look at what, you see, when I was younger, proper parenting skills were passed on, but no, it's not. I don't know. Do we start teaching in the schools or what? And since we're talking about the schools now, probably could look at the system that you went through. Mark, you went to Monroe. And Monroe is not probably a good example of what happens in all the school, but I'm sure you have talked to youngsters and so on.
Right.
We are losing our boys. And I'm sure somebody like you heading out to Oxford when you're going to school and probably studying, that they probably look at you as a little wimp. And you're doing pretty well. Because, bad man, choke it and all them things. And so you don't know. You speak Patois pretty well and speak the English language even probably better. What is happening? What is wrong with the educational system? And mark your parental care could be part of the problem. But what do you think we can do with the educational system to better prepare our boys to function and to behave differently?
Oh, there are so many ways to dissect that question. It's a really heavy question. I think one way that we can start, and I think the cornerstone of society is the family.
Yes.
And it begins in the home. And I think we can start by setting out some really strong role models in the home to say that this is what you'd want. These are the behaviors that you need to emulate. These are the characteristics that you need to have. This is the kind of man that you should want to, not to say that you want to be like that person, but you could say that there's something in that person that I want in me. And I think there are a lot of homes right now that are broken, that don't have that father figure, that don't have that masculine presence, especially talking particularly for the boys now.
Yes.
And so they begin to look elsewhere for that presence. They begin to look elsewhere for that support and that encouragement. And they find it in ways or in people that often glorify violence, that think of a bad man as the man that I would want to become. They think because they get that sense of security and safety from those places that they never grew up with. And so I think we are able to start in those homes, in our communities, in our churches, and have persons who are standing up for the principles of brotherhood, justice, and peace. Starting right there, then we should see some kind of change happening in our society. But when you don't find it there, you find it in people who, how do I say this diplomatically, are perhaps not ideal role models. And then we end up...
You mean like the biggest star in Jamaica is a... You say you're pretty nice? You mean like the biggest star in Jamaica is a convicted murderer? Who would even the media promoting him? Eh? And let me tell you something, you see. You could have sing, all you know, you could have bright till judgment come. If you could have sing like angels. But if you are the devil, I am not going to listen to your music. I'm not going to be a part of you, because let me tell you, will be passing a part of that evil spirit in your lovely music to me. I'm going to lock it out. That's the problem with Jamaica. All the well-known persons in this country are persons who I question their integrity, and some of them are convicted murderers. It's just amazing. I'm not as tactful as you, my friend.
No, I completely agree.
And by the way, don't forget, the last time one convicted person came back to Jamaica, embarrassed the country, he won the National Festival Song Competition. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying it is wrong, we must rehabilitate persons, but we must be careful how we put these persons on a pedestal.
That's the point you're making.
Yes. But, I'm going to share something with you, and I don't know if you have studies, you can probably, because they have an organization in the United Kingdom. And, we're trying to move away from things colonial. But not everything colonial, we should get rid of it. We should pick the good things. I'm talking about a program called the Duke of Edinburgh Award, if you ever heard of it. But
say the name again?
Duke of Edinburgh Award. It's a character building program.
Oh, yes. I guess I do have a friend of mine from Ghana who's very involved in that program, yes.
Yes, but it's quite popular in Africa. I would love to see a Jamaican version. And let me tell you, talking about having father figure, I can tell you, I was in charge of it in this country, and I can tell you, youngsters who have mental challenges have literally been healed. Because they come together as a group, you socialize them, they go on expedition, they get to appreciate the environment. Much youngsters, not Kingston, no, them don't know what it is to look on a flower and say it's a beautiful flower, much less a human being. And I think you need a national program like that, a Jamaican or Caribbean one, where youngsters come together, they work together, they go to an expedition, they go on camping, they learn skills and so on. I've been preaching the thing, Master. I'm hoping that you can help me to continue to preach the word for us to have a national socialization program. And that now could encompass like your Girl Guides and your Scouts and Cadets and so on, because it become now overall program involving all these things. And then, can you imagine if we have thousands of youngsters being a part of it? You see a youngster? In this country, we give all the big shot and big awards, Can you imagine these youngsters working to get a medal and to be recognized, and when they go for a job, they can say this person was outstanding in this socialization program. The big thing it would be for them? I'm going to beg of you to help me to preach the word. And if you're going to do any papers... yeah, I beg, look at something like that.
I completely agree. Those youth empowerment programs are so important.
Yes.
And I participate in quite a few of the Ministry of Youth Education and Youth programs. I've been in the National Youth Parliament and the National Youth Council and some other of the programs that they have. And I can tell you they're so
that's why you sound like you can talk, be even better than many of our leaders, because your diction is really top of the line.
Well, that comes back to the good parenting, but we'll circle that at another time.
Yes.
But I will tell you that those such a program as you just described, I don't know much about the Duke of Edinburgh Award, but I do know that it has done really, really good work. And if we have programs like those, more of them. I know we have Girl Guides, Scouting, and in fact, I'm really good friends with some of the heads of that organization. But
Yes.
if we have our young people being involved in those things, we do myriad of such good in terms of not only their job prospects, but their character.
Right.
In terms of what we want our young people. I mean, we're not just the future, no, we're the present.
I love that.
Investing in our young people as not only the future of Jamaica, but as the present as well. And programs such as the one you described and as we've discussed will really help to shape that future into the Jamaica we want to see.
Now, you're heading now to Oxford University. And sure, you're going to be exposed to youngsters and older folks from right across the world.
Mm-hmm.
That experience will prepare you for big things. Let me ask you, 10 years down the road, 20 years, how do you see yourself contributing to Jamaica? And guess what? Jamaica is a small place, but to the world.
Indeed. Oh, there's so, I must say that I'm a Christian. That's something I should have mentioned. But I do believe in God's plan, and they always say, "Man after and God a wife." So my will is in God's plan. But if it is in the Lord's will, and if it is His determination that this is the way it's supposed to go, I am a patriot at heart, and my study at Oxford will be focused on international relations with a particular focus on global governance. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade does have a unit within the ministry or division that is all about intergovernmental organizations, which has been a lot of what my research has been about today.
Yes.
And so it is would be my intention, my hope, to, upon completion of this degree, to come back and to serve my country in that way, to be joining the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in that way. But I should also say that, and I think I said this to you in our preparatory conversation earlier, that you don't have to be in Jamaica to serve Jamaica. And you don't have to work for the government of Jamaica to work for the benefit and the betterment of our country.
And if you didn't mention that, I wouldn't say it, because I'm like that. Whatever it's said to me off air, it remains off air. But now that you said, I was touched by that statement, when you said that you don't have to be in Jamaica to serve Jamaica. Wow, what a deep statement that is. Really is deep.
Really?
Yes. And I will say to you that that's a blunder I made when I was young. I got the opportunity to go overseas, scholarship, you name it. I did not. Now, had I gone, I would have been able to contribute far more to Jamaica. And coming back, I could probably employ you. So we have to look at that, and we have to be practical. It makes sense to say to a youngster, listen, Brain, Dre, you're not patriotic to your country. Your country is a piece of land. You persons have to develop, and as a young bud, you have to spread your wings. So, and that's the time to get international exposure and experience. You come back big. You come back big, and you come back from abroad, big and broad. So, you see yourself getting to it. Let me tell you, have you been thinking about what's happening in the world? I'd love you to have another 5 minutes or so to share with us. I don't know if you have had time to look at what is happening in the world internationally, if there's any particular thing happening in any country or between countries that you want to comment at this time.
So,
Comment on anything happening. Yes.
Not particularly. World affairs is one of those areas that is so rife with information.
Yes.
Well, I'll comment on it, but perhaps not in the way that you're expecting.
No, man, it's up to you, man. No, man, I'm not expecting. You're here to express yourself.
Yes, absolutely. There's so much happening in the world, and I think it is very important that we be careful about where we receive our information from and what we do with that information. I'm spinning this in the way to say that misinformation and disinformation is real. And we've seen that not only in an international context, but certainly in the Jamaican local as well, in so many different ways. And so I would really want to encourage our listeners out there to scrutinize the information that when they see, both when you're in regarding to world affairs and local things as well, that when you see certain things, let's learn to question them and not accept them as gospel. That would be especially when we see something that is a little unscrupulous, or you really think that this doesn't make sense prima facie at first glance. Just learn to not accept things, but to question them and to ask where you get it from. Exactly what is this about? This don't make no sense. And question things, and not just to be sharing everything that you receive, because this is how we get to things like misinformation, disinformation, and that can manifest in really, really unhelpful ways.
But
so what I would...
That is an international matter, you know. You said, I might not want it away. No, you're absolutely correct. If you just take social media, fantastic tool, but it has become has made some of us so dysfunctional in terms of the things we send out there. It must have cost the country over the weekend probably millions because of one joker who put up thing that we have a bomb in Ochi, And it's amazing that persons are well qualified and the rubbish that they read and believe. As a matter of fact, and if you were listening at the beginning of the program, I spoke about students who want to go overseas to work, and many of them, they have lost thousands of dollars. I know at least 4 who have come to me. They lost $2,000 each. It is just amazing that everything we see on the internet, we just believe it. I said we have more information now, but we have more confusion.
Indeed. And there are some malicious actors out there who intentionally create and disseminate this information, the propaganda.
No, you see, you're nice. You say malicious. You say sick and evil people out there. But you're a nicer person than I am. Malicious. And I find it's just amazing. I find it quite interesting how they use their bright minds, and I know you won't do that, to just create things and make mischief. And I said to myself, if they should use that brilliant and creative mind for good, can you imagine what they could do for the world?
Indeed.
It's just amazing. Now, we have another 2 minutes, and in that 3 minutes, I'm appointing you as the Prime Minister of Jamaica, and you're going to speak to parents in that 3 minutes and youngsters, especially young men. Over to you, my brother.
No pressure. Citizens of Jamaica. I am a representation of what can be done, and just a semblance of representation of what can be done when you believe in yourself and when you have a support system behind you that believes in you even the moments in which you don't believe in yourself. And so I just want to encourage you. I want to reaffirm in your mind that it is really not where you're coming from, but where you are going. And that ambition is something that you can have and you can work towards it. That have a goal. I also think that you can't go through life haphazardly. You can't just be getting up. And even if you're working, going to school, you can't be getting up every day and just going to school, going to classes and come home and just doing life by rote. You have to have some intentionality, some deliberation. There has to be something about you or something about the way that you're living that is contributing to something in the future. I always tell some of my mentees that I get up every day and I say to myself, and again, you should always want to be by your, how do I say this? You want to be, success is self-determined. I shouldn't look to myself or to anyone else to determine what your success should look like. It needs to be what you have determined your success is supposed to be. But something that really helps me is I say to myself, I see Nahjae 10 years down the line being hopefully very rich or successful, very comfortable. And I say to myself, what can I do today to get myself to that Nahjae? And I want you to adopt a similar strategy. What can you do today to get yourself to that future thing? And I think if we have such a mentality, such a strategy of living our lives instead of just going through life by rote and allowing life to happen to us, but not us happening to life, that would be something that will change the way in which our futures can unfold.
And let me tell you something. No Prime Minister, either here in Jamaica or in the world, could have made a better statement than that. You have communicated well, and I'll say those who have ears to hear Let them hear. But
Let
before
them
you
hear.
go, you came here, and rather than coming here and just talking about yourself and what you're good at, you gave credit to your parents. I'd love to hear the names of your parents.
Oh, certainly. My dad is Ruben Nunes. I know they're listening. Hi, Bobby. Hi, Daddy. My dad is Ruben Nunes, who you know pretty well, and my mother is Stacey Nunes. So that.
And I would just say one thing. If they don't have no money, just listening to you this morning, they must feel richer than anybody else in the world. You are definitely, when I spoke to you, I said, this is an outstanding character. I hope to God I live long enough and I can see a little bit of what you're doing. And not only for yourself, which you obviously you want to contribute, what you'll contribute to Jamaica and the world. And as you said before, you don't have to be in Jamaica to contribute to Jamaica. Thank you very much, Nahjae
Absolutely.
Ruben Nunes. And good morning to your wonderful parents who, I must say, it was not only the act which produced you, and they asked me which act is that, but it's what they did after that act in nurturing, growing, and loving you that have turned out a wonderful youngster like yours. And next thing in life, you make sure you find a woman who will lift you up, because it doesn't matter how successful you are. If you have a spouse, if you decide to have a spouse, and they don't help to lift you up, you'll be a failure. And that's a personal advice.
Indeed. Thank you, Sir Damian, and thank you to your listeners for listening.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much, Nahjae Ruben Nunes. Heading to Oxford University, he's completed his master's and he'll be doing a doctorate at Oxford University. You're listening to Rhythm FM, coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica.